ESPN just dropped a massive betrayal on national television regarding the Atlanta Falcons, completely ignoring a hidden schedule cheat code that historically guarantees a deep playoff run. Before we dive in, smash that subscribe button if you want the fastest NFL updates on the planet. Let us talk about a massive, game-changing advantage that nobody in the mainstream sports media wants to acknowledge right now. There is a deeply tracked, highly critical statistic in the National Football League called the net rest differential. If you do not know what that means, let me break it down in very simple terms. Net rest differential calculates exactly how much extra time your football team gets to sit on the couch, heal their bodies, and study the playbook compared to the exact opponents they are going out to face on Sunday. It measures the total difference in recovery time throughout the entire regular season. If your team is stuck in the red zone of this metric, it means you are constantly going up against squads that have had more sleep, more practice, and less physical punishment than your guys. Last year, the Falcons were stuck in the negative. The team was dealing with a -1 rest differential, meaning the overwhelming majority of the time, our opponents stepped onto the grass with fresher legs and a better game plan. But this year, the script has completely flipped in our favor. The Atlanta Falcons are sitting at the absolute peak of the mountain with a staggering +7.5 days of net rest advantage. Let that number sink in for a second. Over the course of the grinding, bruising NFL season, this team will essentially have an entire extra week of recovery time compared to the teams they are actively trying to defeat. That is a whole extra week of getting healthy in the training room, a whole extra week of studying film, and a whole extra week of fine-tuning the offense. This is an absolute massive win for the NFC South division race. If you look closely at the numbers, the Carolina Panthers technically lead the pack with 8.5 extra days of rest. Atlanta is breathing right down their necks at 7.5 days. Then, the numbers fall completely off a cliff. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are sitting in the negative at -1.5 days. Meanwhile, the New Orleans Saints are staring down an absolute disaster, trapped at the very bottom of the barrel with a devastating -8 days of rest. Are you really going to sit there and tell me that getting a full extra week of sleep over your fiercest division rivals does not absolutely guarantee a massive advantage on the gridiron? Some people might try to tell you that rest days do not matter. But history tells a completely different story. Just look at the teams that recently dominated this very same statistical category. A few years back, the Los Angeles Rams had the third highest rest advantage in the league and easily marched right into the playoffs. The San Francisco 49ers had the fourth highest and secured their playoff ticket. The Seattle Seahawks rode the fifth highest rest differential all the way to winning the Super Bowl. Even the Los Angeles Chargers locked in a playoff spot while holding the ninth highest rest advantage. Now, I am not saying that taking a nap automatically wins you a championship ring. You still have to lace up your cleats and physically beat the guy standing across from you. But having fresh legs in the fourth quarter of a tight game in November or December can easily be the defining factor between a heartbreaking loss and a massive victory. It is like finding a crisp $50 bill on the sidewalk when your bills are already paid. It might not buy you a new house, but it is a massive, unexpected bonus that makes your life incredibly easier. With this kind of schedule advantage, I am completely locked in on the Atlanta Falcons taking home the NFC South crown. Tampa Bay simply does not have the defensive firepower to stop anyone. Carolina might have made a few decent moves, but they are still rebuilding. And I will never, ever predict the Saints to do anything productive. A safe, highly realistic bet is seeing Atlanta secure the 4th or 5th seed in the NFC and making serious noise in the wildcard round. But wait until you hear the absolute disaster of a prediction a major sports network just published about this exact same roster. The people over at ESPN just released their official season projections, and it feels like a complete betrayal by the national analysts. According to their so-called expert computers, the Falcons only have a 33% chance to win their games this year. If you do the math across a 17-game season, ESPN is boldly predicting that Atlanta will finish with a pathetic 5.7 wins. Let us round that up to 6 wins just to be nice. They are currently ranking us as the 28th worst team in the entire National Football League. Who is to blame for this massive disrespect from the national media? Drop a name below. This completely ignores playing reality. Let us rewind the tape. Last season, this exact same franchise won 8 football games. They won 8 games while dealing with highly questionable coaching decisions, a painfully thin roster, absolutely zero depth at critical positions, and a massive wave of devastating injuries. Now, the team is finally healthy, the coaching staff is massively upgraded, the young core is a full year older, and the roster is deeper than it has been in half a decade. Yet somehow, these national pundits believe the team is going to lose 2 or 3 more games than they did during their absolute worst phase. That is completely insane. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but when you start trying to pass off pure fiction as statistical data, we have a serious problem. The most insane part of their entire report is what they said about the defense. ESPN actually published an article claiming the Atlanta pass rush is going to rank 25th in the league this season. 25th. Let me remind everyone of a pure, undeniable fact. Last year, this defense recorded the second most sacks in the entire NFL. They completely shattered the all-time franchise record for taking down the quarterback. And now, the national media thinks they are going to magically drop from the second-best pass rush in football all the way down to the bottom of the trash can. Look at the absolute monsters we have rushing the passer. We have Jalen Walker hunting quarterbacks. We are getting James Pierce Jr. back on the field. The front office just added Azeez Ojulari to the mix. We have Samson Ebukam ready to eat. We have Bralon Trice eager to prove himself. That does not even include the massive humans playing on the interior defensive line. Zach Harrison racked up 5 explosive sacks last year before a frustrating injury sidelined him. Brandon Dorlus completely destroyed offensive lines last season, grabbing 8.5 sacks of his own. Every single one of these guys is now a year older, a year stronger, and much more comfortable in the defensive system. There is absolutely zero logical reason to believe this pass rush is going to fall off a cliff. But wait until you hear what the actual realistic expectations are for this squad, because the true numbers tell a completely different story. Since the mainstream networks want to deal in absolute nonsense, I am going to give you the real, unfiltered blueprint for this upcoming season. This is a pure masterclass in how to evaluate a football team. First of all, the pass rush is easily finishing inside the top 5 again. I will play it safe and avoid predicting another historic number 2 finish just because injuries can always happen in the trenches, but top 5 is an absolute lock. On the other side of the ball, the offense is guaranteed to finish in the top 16. Last year, the offense hovered terribly around the 23rd or 24th spot. Just jumping into the top half of the league is going to feel like an offensive explosion for this fan base. Overall, the total defense is easily repeating as a top 10 unit. But the biggest game changer of all will be the special teams. Last year, the special teams unit was a complete disaster. They ranked 32nd. Dead last in the entire NFL. If the new coaching staff can just coach this unit up to an average, top 20 ranking, the hidden yardage alone is going to swing multiple games. If you combine a top 16 offense, a top 10 defense, a top 5 pass rush, and an average special teams unit, you are looking at a team that wins 10 or 11 games in their sleep. But wait until you hear about the secret weapon wearing number 17 who is about to shatter every rookie expectation. While the media focuses on tearing the team down, we need to talk about the electric potential of Zachariah Branch. Right out of the gate, he looks incredibly fresh in the new Atlanta uniform. Clint Goss recently said Branch is the coolest looking guy rocking the new threads, and around here, we trust his vision. But looking cool does not win football games. Catching passes does. And the analytical data on Zachariah Branch is incredibly exciting. A lot of critics look at his smaller frame and immediately label him as just another tiny slot receiver who cannot survive the physical punishment of the NFL. But the tape does not lie. In college, he put up a staggering 2.57 yards per route run. Yes, he played out of the slot for 78% of his career, but he was incredibly heavily utilized. Last year at Georgia, he was responsible for 26% of the entire passing production share. He commanded a massive 24.5% target share. This means when the game was on the line, the quarterback was looking directly at him. He is entering the league at the exact perfect age where explosive playmakers tend to break out and take over the game. He is not just going to run simple drag routes. He is going to stretch the field, make defenders miss in open space, and turn short passes into massive chunk plays. When you put all of these pieces together, the picture is incredibly clear. You have a historically dominant pass rush that is somehow getting better. You have a rookie receiver ready to inject pure lightning into the offensive scheme. You have a coaching staff ready to fix the special teams disaster. And most importantly, you have a massive net rest schedule advantage that gives your players an extra week of healing over their bitter division rivals. Predicting this team to only win 5 or 6 games is nothing short of disrespectful. My official prediction is firmly set at 10 wins and 7 losses, securing the division and hosting a playoff game. But honestly, if this team catches a few lucky breaks and wins 11 games, nobody should be surprised. This roster is absolutely loaded with premium talent from top to bottom. We have an incredibly long off-season ahead of us, so make sure you stay completely locked in. Whether there is a blockbuster trade, a surprise free agent signing, or just breaking news out of training camp, we will be tracking every single movement this franchise makes.